Ladies and gentlemen, so I haven't been talking boxing a whole lot these days because it's not really much to talk about. You know, most of the things to talk about are not really things worthy of talking about, so I just don't bother to talk about them. But a upcoming fight that is happening August the 19th, which really creates some buzz for me, and I think is really interesting, and no pun intended, is Terence Crawford versus Julius Indongo. And that's going to come about, I believe it's the 19th of August. And I'm looking forward to that fight. And when we look at the two fighters, they're pretty interesting. The first one is Julius Indongo. Julius Indongo is 5'10.5". He has a 71.5-inch reach. So he's taller and longer than Terence Crawford, who, as you can see, is 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. He's also, Julius Indongo that is, he's the WBA super lightweight and the IBF World Super Lightweight World Champion. So that is big. Okay? He is a unified world champion, and he's going to be facing Terence Crawford, who is the WBC World Super Lightweight and the WBO Super Lightweight World Champion. So that unification will form, the person who wins that fight will be the undisputed super lightweight champion of the world. And that hasn't happened in a long time. So I'm looking forward to this fight for that reason. There's some other reasons. Terence will have to overcome, of course, height and reach. And in addition, Julius Indongo is also southpaw. And he's also undefeated. So he doesn't know what it is to lose a fight. So somebody's always got to go in this fight. It's kind of like Keith Thurman versus Danny Garcia. I always thought that fight was fun because there was a lot at stake. It was a unification fight against two world champions. And then on top of that, somebody's had to go that night. And I think this is just another beautiful matchup here because Terence Crawford is may go, or Julius Indongo his may go. Now, even though Julius Indongo's knockout percentage here is 50%, that does not really mean much because Julius Indongo can get the knockout when he actually needs it. As you can see here in the case of him facing Edward Troyanowski, who was the IBF Super Lightweight Champion, he stopped his ass, which means, and that was a Russian fighter, and he was a good fighter because that's the guy that beat the Argentinian dude who was also undefeated at the time. And Edward Troyanowski was undefeated at the time when Julius Indongo faced it. So he can get the knockout when he needs to get the knockout, and he only does it when it's absolutely necessary. Now, he has been at super lightweight longer than Terence Crawford. As you can see here, he actually had a super lightweight title, African super lightweight title, in 2014. As much as 2012 he was at super lightweight, as we can see here, but he was at lightweight in 2011, so which means that he's been a lightweight, super lightweight, for 5 years. Okay, whereas Terence Crawford, he has been a super lightweight now for roughly, he's been a super lightweight as of 2015, so he's only been a super lightweight for 2 years. He also was the lightweight world champion, and he faced names such as Ricky Burns, Yuriko Scambor, Raimundo Beltran, Thomas Delorme, Derry Jean, Henry Lundy, Victor Postol, who was the WBC Super Lightweight World Champion, who was also longer and taller than Terence Crawford. And then he faced John Molina and Felix Diaz. All of these are known names in boxing. As Julius Indongo, he only faced two known names, which were Edward Troyanowski and Ricky Burns. Ricky Burns being one of those people that Terence Crawford beat at a low weight class. So I thought that this is very interesting because when you look at the two fighters, they have a number of things that are going for them, you know. Whereas Indongo has less fights, Terence Crawford had 31, Indongo has 22. You got to see that they're, at least on paper, pretty evenly matched out, right? Pretty evenly matched out. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how things turn out. Indongo's gone 125 rounds. Terence Crawford at 165 rounds. I would say Crawford has more experience and faced better competition, higher level competition, but that does not mean, it doesn't guarantee that he will win the fight. I favor Terence Crawford to win. That's not saying much. He has youth on the side. He's 29 years of age. He can do things that Indongo can't do, like switch hit and stuff like that. Indongo's called the Blue Machine. Terence Crawford is called the Hunter or Bud, right? Terence Bud Crawford, I think they call him of recent times. But my point is this, that if Terence wins this, he's going to be the undisputed super lightweight champion of the world, and that would be a huge achievement. Okay, but Julius Indogo, he got upset on his mind. I've never seen him fight, but I'm just curious because this guy, he basically was able to upset an undefeated fighter, going to England, always going into hostile territory, and then he defeated Ricky Burns. So this guy has to be legitimate in some way, shape, or form, even though he's 34 years of age. Whereas Terence Crawford, he's going to be fighting his home turf. Again, Indogo's have to go outside of a turf other than his territory and face Terence Crawford. And whereas I don't think Indogo may get knocked out by Crawford, the one thing I got to say is he's not going to, if it goes to the card, they're probably going to favor the homeboy over him. So we'll see how things work out in the end. I have not really seen Indogo's style, but I'm thinking if he can beat Ricky Burns, if he can beat Edward Tryanovsky, he's got to have some degree of good boxing in him. And I'm probably have to look into his fighting style, etc. But for now, I just wanted to share this with you guys. I think this is a really good fight. It's going to be in Omaha, Nebraska, and it should be interesting for as long as it lasts, or if it goes all the way to the bell. It should be very interesting. Okay? On that note, you guys have a great one.